Welcome to the Events That Made Me, and I am absolutely delighted to have as my guest Tom Kerridge. And here we are in the Bull and Bear, which is in the Stock Exchange Hotel in Manchester and is fabulous. I've eaten here a few times, and we're going to chat to him about how he got here. And anyway, listen, so from someone who can't boil an egg but knows how to serve it, I'm totally in awe of today's very familiar face. Tom is the proud owner of 3 pubs with a hat-trick of Michelin Stars, and the Hand and Flowers was the first pub to be awarded 2 Michelin Stars. He had an early start in the kitchen, cooking up dinners for his younger brother while his mum was at work, but walking into a hotel kitchen at 18 was when he donned his chef's whites. Now, those that have tuned into my podcast know that I'm brand-driven, and that's what intrigues me. Tom has not only transformed himself, which we will come to shortly, but the way we view food, and I might add, makes the best pâté ever. So, Mr. K, let's find out what events have made you. Hi.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm really good.
That was a lovely introduction. Thank you very much.
I know, I wrote it all myself. That might give me a free pâté now or something with a glass of champagne after this. You're a little bit of an enigma. Everybody is totally intrigued by Tom Kerridge, and you're probably one of the chefs that has kept that sort of very classy image. You've not gone too commercial. Your brand is very smart, is expensive, and you know I love expensive. So the first event, and I know that this is key to your success, that you gave to me was Beth Cullen Kerridge. Go on, tell us the story.
So it's the moment of meeting my wife, and she's the driving force basically behind everything that we do or have done, or decision making that we've done, from opening a restaurant and running a pub or running a business. To be honest, it was the decision of running a business, and it's that concept, the idea of being your own boss, was something that was never really in my psyche. Like you say, I walked into a kitchen as an 18-year-old, and you're always very much an employee, and there's lots of structure and discipline to kitchens and the way that they work. There's a kind of like a brigade system, and you understand it, and it's very easy to see the tiers or the levels in the way that you work up a ladder. And then when you get to a level and you get to the top, you're normally there's a safety net around being an employee, that you recognize how much money you get paid, what the salary is. That means that you know how much money you can borrow to get a mortgage, or what your monthly rent can be, or you can judge those outgoings. The moment you run your own business, you suddenly put everything into your own hands. And you might go from earning a particularly high salary or doing quite well to earning nothing the moment you take that opportunity. But for Beth, she'd always worked for herself. She was an artist. She went to the John Moores University in Liverpool, studied art. Then she went to the Royal College of Art in London, and then after that she worked for a phenomenal artist called Sir Anthony Caro, who's one of Britain's foremost and most incredibly acclaimed sculptors, who has work in Modern Tate Britain, on the Millennium Bridge. Beth was involved in the kind of design concept of that, and so. But this is somebody who's always worked for herself. She answers to herself. She's her own entity. Although she's married to me, she's definitely not a chef's wife. She's just not. She is her own.
Let me just interrupt you, because I've got to tell you something very funny. I met Beth. I came to, which was where I first saw you, at that Knutsford thing. What was it?
Pub in the Park.
The pub in the park, and I was obviously in the VIP tent.
Obviously.
It was and I chatted to her, and I asked her what she did, and she said, "Oh, I'm a sculptor." And I said to her, "Do you know my friend Barbara Myers, who is Manchester based and has done very well?" And sort of dissed it a bit. I thought, maybe does she make sort of these paper mache things? And I totally underestimated her. And then I Googled her, and it's like, Jesus, I mean, she's serious stuff.
Yeah, she won the Global Art Award for Sculpture 3 years ago for the piece that she put that's at the front of the Dubai Opera House. I mean, she's major, she's big.
You are Beth Cullen's husband. She is not Tom Kerridge's wife.
100% that. There's that Michelle Obama quote, isn't there, about where Barack Obama says to her that her previous boyfriend was a chef and was somebody who worked in hospitality, and he said, see, you could have just been, married to a chef. And she said, no, that chef could have been the president of the United States. So it becomes, it's about, it's not about who you are, it's the person that, the amazing woman that's behind you. So yeah, very much, she's very much that driving force. So I am the person, I'm married to a sculptor, it's not the other way around.
But it's interesting because she's obviously very arty, you're both very creative. And it's not often, myself excluded here, that a creative person actually can run a business. I'm useless with accounts and stuff, but so what's interesting is that she had that knowledge and she was able to understand the mechanics of running a business and put the two pieces together.
That comes very much from her father. Her father was Jim he's just now, well, he's retired now, but previously, so they're from Stoke-on-Trent originally, so he had a big pottery business throughout the 70s and 80s and early 90s, before obviously late 80s when it went bankrupt due to the way that the potteries have become slightly decimated. They're on a revamp now, but yeah, he had a huge pottery business in Stoke-on-Trent, and the understanding of running a business, so being creative, creating pots, using your hands, making something, but then also the understanding of then selling it as a business is something that Beth always very much understood, the two processes that tie in together. So she's been hugely dynamic in making sure that the business sits aligned. And you're very kind for calling me creative, that the two of us are. Beth is hugely creative. She is the artistic one. She's the very talented one for that. I view what I do as a chef as a trade. It's not, I'm not creative. It's an understanding of building blocks of flavours and profiles and methodology. What we do is very similar to being a builder or an architect or somebody that just kind of pieces things together. I have an understanding of flavour profiles and I have an understanding of balance. I don't work in an artistic sense with food. There's chefs out there that do. Simon Rogan, Sat Baines, incredible, fantastic, artistic, very fluent chefs in terms of flavour and the way that things work. I work very much in the understanding that I've learned a foundation of classics, and you build the salt, acidity levels, sharpness, richness, how you get where you look for substantial things in terms of carbohydrate, how to cook a piece of meat, all of those things. I very much view it as a trade. So the creative element does very much come from Beth. I sit there as a very strong tradesman. So between us, it does form this kind of. It does help create this partnership that ticks a lot of boxes. There's creativity, there's artistry, there's a solid trade that it's built on, and then between us we're both very conscious and both very aware of being able to create spaces where people enjoy, because it is much more than just food and the offering of drink. To a successful restaurant and a successful dining space, there's so much more to it, and a lot of it is about atmosphere and energy and how that is created.
It's interesting because I think you underestimate yourself. I am I love eating out, and I'm quite particular. It's how it's presented. I'd rather have simple food, presented and tasting as exquisitely as you deliver it. But I do think you underestimate yourself, and actually watching you chat to me. There's no level of arrogance. There's a little bit of insecurity there, which I'm surprised at, because you are a huge name and you're in a very competitive industry with not a lot of competitors, but they're all big and out there. And I think what you have, and this is not me bullshitting you because we're having a chat, because Gino turned me down actually, so I had to that was a joke. But it's there's sort of a mystery. There's a mystery to you, and there's an exclusiveness. And I think that particularly this Bull and Bear thing, I like the whole thing, I like the look, I love this restaurant, and you're right, it's all ingredients of how you present it, from the visual to the service of the food. But I'm waffling here because you do underestimate yourself. And I know that you would not have been as successful without Beth. I get that, because behind every successful man, there is a woman. As I well know, I've had a lot of men that I've been behind, all been very successful, and I've had to leave them all alone. But you wouldn't have been. But I think that you underestimate, I I think you're really good.
You're very kind.
I'm trying here. I'm trying to get a free meal, Tom.
No, I know. No, it's fine. You got it. It's cool. It's no bother. That box has been ticked long ago, mate. But
thank you.
I think insecurity. I think you're it's slightly misjudged with humility, and they're two different things. I'm not insecure. In fact, I've always been very comfortable within my own skin, always 100% of the time as a young kid. I've never been, I'm really comfortable with people. But I've always learned from a young age, and I think it's growing up as a single parent family, and my mum who had 2 jobs, and an understanding of people. And we would always have the waifs and strays we grew up in the middle of 3 estates in Gloucester, and it was an all boys comprehensive school that was it was a little bit rough and tumble. It was quite often the kids were from slightly more disadvantaged backgrounds, or that come from areas that were a little bit more bumpy. They would all end up at our house. It was always a case of my mum kind of just making sure that everyone was welcome, it's no problem, and everyone has a story, irrespective. It doesn't matter who you meet, and I learned that from an early age. And it doesn't matter whether it's a A-list celebrity or just a bloke that is a plumber that works around the corner and then often comes in here and fixes them. Like, everybody is equally and incredibly important, and I do love and being around people. So I'm always interested in understanding people, and always have been. So I think that's a humility that comes across, whereas I am, in terms of confidence around people, I am confidence about what I do. I'm very confident. I mean, I'm of the firm belief that I can achieve anything I want because I can, because I know if I put my mind to things, I can do it. So but I just like people, so I do react in a humble way that.
No, I think you're right. It is humility, and I probably, but it's the first time we've actually sat and had time to chat one-to-one. I know Gary Neville, and he's used his USP to create a brand, which is what we all do. So he's used his name to create a brand, a big name in the city. And he has, his support for the NHS during COVID has been phenomenal. The employment that he's opening up for people is phenomenal. So it's much more than, Gary Neville and Ryan Giggs' restaurant. It's a big thing, and it's all about brand. And Tom Kerridge is a brand. But I know that Beth proposed to you. Just tell me, what's this £3 for the stripper? Just before we move on to the next thing, tell me what this is.
That's actually that's the first sentence she said to me. So it was the night. I was working as a chef, and it was a Friday evening, and so I somehow managed to have the Friday evening off. So I finished work at about 5 o'clock. Obviously went to the pub next door, had a couple of beers, and went home. Because I was supposed to be going out. It was my flatmate's birthday, and what it's like when it's really long week. You work 16, 18, 20-hour days, and then you have a couple of beers, you go home. Like, I got in the bath, had a little snooze, didn't want to go. Like, I could not be arsed to go out, but my other flatmate was like, come on, we've got to go out, it's Tim's birthday, we've got to go. And I was like, okay. So I finally got changed, headed out into Camden, into North London, and we went to a comedy club that was there, that had a bar in it, and we walked into the bar where it was Tim's birthday, and Tim was also a technician for Sir Anthony Caro, worked alongside Beth, and I walked in there, and Beth was there, and the first thing she said, she come to me and she'd give me £3 for the stripper. So she'd organised a stripper for Tim for his birthday, which, straight away it's like there's a girl with, there's quite ballsy with a northern accent that's asking me for £3 for a stripper. Like, straight away as a 24-year-old, you're quite interested in this person. It's like, okay, this is and to be honest, we've been together since that night. That was the night I met her, and we've been together ever since. And it's been an amazing roller coaster journey, and it's been brilliant to be a part of. But she hasn't changed from that day. She's still the same strong-minded, single-willed, decision-making, driven, incredible woman that is, however, the stripper didn't turn up. So it was so I'm slightly disappointed about that. She, I do remind her she owes me £3. Yeah. Still to see that.
So moving on, go on. Tell me a bit about how it evolved. Where I know that 2008 was a very difficult year for you personally and professionally, but just talk to us about the Hand and Flowers and the pub and.
Yeah. So I worked and was working in Michelin Star restaurants pretty much my whole career, but we then got to a point where we thought it was time that we should perhaps do something else. We moved from North London into Norfolk, into North Norfolk, and there was an opportunity there to work as a chef in a great restaurant that I won a Michelin Star and held it for a year. And Beth was able to have a studio and create her own work, but it was it's as beautiful as North Norfolk was and is. It just wasn't, for people in their late 20s, early 30s, it wasn't vibrant enough, it wasn't driven, it wasn't exciting. So we decided to have a look moving back down south back into London. And Beth made the point of going, listen, if you're going to do 80, 90, 100-hour weeks, why aren't you doing it for yourself? So that was the point, that was the jumping off point, that was the decision making. So we started looking, and then we started looking for all sorts of different things. And originally it was going to be a restaurant, but that we came across the Hand of Flowers, and it suddenly went, it made so much sense for it to be a pub. It's the most comfortable place.
When you walked in, was it one of those moments where you think, this is it?
Yeah, absolutely knew it was the right space. Actually, I knew it when we were on the internet 2 days before we saw it. We were looking through loads of sites, and I thought that I know that's the place. And I mean, it was empty. It was nothing. It was doing 500 quid a week. Honestly, it was a shithole. It was horrible. Everything needed ripping out. And it was on a brewery-owned tenancy, which means that you don't own the lease or the building, but you're also and you're not there as a management. You just have to buy the fixtures and fittings, and then anything that you make as a profit is yours. So it was a tenancy that we went in at, and it was around about 30 grand for the fixtures and fittings, and we had about 10 grand to do everything else up. And I say we had that 40 grand, that was a complete lie. What we did is we went to the bank and told them that we had this little cottage in Norfolk. We told them we were going to do an extension on it, and it was costing 30 grand. So they lent us 30 grand for an extension that we actually used to buy the tenancy, the fixtures and fittings of a tenanted pub. So it was a complete lie. And then to do any refurb work, we just both borrowed money on a credit card, and it was just kind of like, right, okay, this is now we're in it. Now we're in the shit. Now we got to do it.
What year was this?
2005 we opened. So that was 2005. And the bank, when they found out, weren't that happy, obviously. But at that point, then they had to make a decision. They'd already lent the money. They can recall the money, or they could either now back us. They can either back us and do this. Which at that point they did, which was great. 2005 they went, okay, well, all right, off you go, and we ran with it, and we ran with it ever since, and it's been amazing. We opened up with this pub with 14 tables, a couple of other chefs, and within 10 months we won a Michelin Star, and it was just a brilliant, fantastic experience to be going through that. And it's very, very difficult, but 2008 was very hard. That first recession was a very, very difficult thing for a young couple to be dealing with. I mean, I was 31 when I opened it, so it's a very difficult period to be looking at. And
so you were 34, 35 when the recession hit?
Yeah, 33, 34, yeah. So it was very...
And go on, just tell me about that, because I know that it sort of... It jolted you both, really.
Well, it does. It's very, very difficult. I think when you run businesses, and particularly when you hit a recession in very difficult times, like we're walking into now, as business owners, you're faced with very hard decisions in front of you, and everything that you make is your decision, and you can't see ways out of it. Normally, if things are good and there's problems to be solved, you can always kind of maneuver things and adapt and control, and you can still change the environment and the way that you're working to be able to work, because there's money coming through the door, there's guests, the phone's ringing, whatever is happening. However, the moment the recession hit, it suddenly becomes it's out of your hands, and it's very, very difficult. Like right now, things are out of your hands, and no matter how many different decisions you're making and pivoting your business all over the place, it's very it's not all in your control, and I like being in control. Most people who run their business make decisions, and they make decisions, they're theirs, and they're theirs to control. But 2008 was very, very difficult. I ended up working even harder. I would get up most mornings at 6 o'clock, make the bread, work all the way through, and finish shifts about 11:30, 12 o'clock, and then you go to bed and back up again the next day. But on a Friday morning, I get up at 6, get into the kitchen, work all the way through, and then Friday night around about midnight, I'd then get a couple of kitchen aids or a Kenwood mixer out, and I'd make 70, 80, 100 loaves of bread throughout the night. all the way through the night on the Friday night. And then Beth would come in at about 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, take the loaves of bread and sell them on a little stall on the high street in Marlow. But obviously then it's 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, so then I would continue to work for the Saturday. So then you still work all the way through to Saturday till midnight. So from Friday morning at 6 a.m. all the way through to Saturday midnight would be, what's that? I mean, that's a 48-hour shift almost.
It must have put huge pressure on the marriage, surely.
Well, it does and it doesn't. It does, yeah. It puts huge pressure on everything because you're exhausted and you're everything is draining. But what it also does is it kind of, if you're lucky enough to be with the right person and you know it helps cement foundations. It helps you bond much stronger. It helps you understand. The two of you learn much more about each other than rather than just, you're not just like lovers and friends. You know, when people fall in love with each other, it's because they're having a laugh and isn't it lovely to spend time in each other's company. Actually, as you grow and as marriages go on, and irrespective of whether it's your like physical marriage or whether it's a marriage with a business partner or whatever, your relationships, they change and they adapt over. We've been married 20 years now, and what happens through going through processes like that, they kind of, it runs much deeper than just being a friend and having a laugh and falling in love with each other as a young couple. It then suddenly becomes, you're going through life experiences that are massive and they're changing and that you kind of adapt and alter. And we're both very different people to when we first met, but we're both equally, if not more, aligned. And it's all through experiences like that the pressure that is put on yourself personally and professionally really do, if you're with the right person, solidify relationships. But I can see how quite easily it could also cause cracks.
And is that why you went? I know you've got a gorgeous little boy. Is it AC?
AC, yes.
Who's a right chip off the old block, and she's got him all suited. She's got all the gear. He's got like the
unfortunately, he does look like me just with hair.
No, he's a much better looking version.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Much better. He's got. And so, was that a decision that you made to wait, or
yeah, kind of. It was. We were both very much career driven. We were both very much in a point of working hard to establish, when you're trying to establish a business, and our first and foremost, the point was for Beth to make uncompromised art and me to cook, and that it wasn't, we'd always wanted a family at some point, but it wasn't always the priority. And I think when you get sucked into a world of trying to survive and get better and do things, it kind of not got put to the back burner, but it is always something that it wasn't the first and foremost. Beth was never someone who was just going to get married and be a mum. It's never been in her nature. It's always been about, I'm making art and this is what I'm going to do and this is where I'm, you know. So it's a wonderful thing. Now we wouldn't be where we were if we'd had him when we first met or when we were young.
Is he arty? Is he creative? Has he shown any signs of? Can we picture him in the kitchen? And
he is very good at art. He's great. He's very good at he's very much a practical person, which is great, like both of us. I mean, Beth also did very, very well at school, like me, not so much. But AC is very much a practical doer. You know, he'll stand in the kitchen, he'll make omelettes, he'll do whatever. He likes riding bikes. He's got not much in the way of a fear factor. So
how old is he?
He'll be 5 this Christmas. So
and he's making omelettes?
Yeah, he's making omelettes. Yeah, he's doing all right. He's doing all right. He doesn't
brilliant.
Quite season them enough yet, but you know, we'll get there in the end. But
that's brilliant. Now listen, you're going to shout at me for the next thing that I'm going to ask you, because it's very important. This, I've got a long established event business, as you know, and so I have a very controversial approach here. My thing at an event is that you never go home saying that you had a great piece of chicken. You go home saying, oh my God, the entertainment was mega, we were pissed, the cocktails were great. And I know that you have an outside catering company.
Yeah.
And I suppose, one eats with their eyes.
Yeah.
If I book for the Hand and Flowers or I book for the Bull and Bear, I know that I'm going for a specific experience. My expectations are high. But if I go to an event, and I'm sure that you'll understand where I'm coming from, 99% of the people, particularly in the Northwest, think, well, I'll go. I think I'll eat before I go because the food will be crap. But, I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to get pissed.
Yeah.
What's your view? What do you think? And why have you gone into the outside event catering? Because it's the worst business ever.
I do, most definitely now. I find that out the hard way, Liz. Most definitely, yeah. But, however, It's for those reasons. And it's funny that you mentioned it, because you talked about going to the Bull and Bear and go to the Hand of Flowers, and you said, and you go there for an experience. You didn't say food, you said experience. And that is exactly what we offer. So I've always seen when you go out for a meal, it's not about the food. And I think that's the difference between when you view it as a chef or you view it as a restaurateur or somebody who looks at it as a bigger picture of hospitality. It is about everything. It's about the seats that you're sat in. It's about the room that you're in. It's about the energy and the atmosphere that's created. It is about the food. That's incredibly important, because you are going out for something to eat. However, it's the way that the waiter smiles at you and says hello. It's the way that the barman flirts with you when you come through the door. All those tiny little points are things that create energy and atmosphere. It is an event. When you go out for something to eat, it is an event. And that's what I want when you come into a restaurant and come into a space or come into one of the pubs, is that you just go away going, that was a brilliant time, not just brilliant food. And a lot of that is created because of the company that you're with and whatever. But all of those are all the tiny little points that make successful restaurants. Now, the event business came along because, like you say, people, when they go out, quite often go, I'll eat before, or event food is quite often seen as being something that's pretty poor, pretty not very, very good. And it came along because one of our sous chefs that worked at the Hand of Flowers spent 9 years working in Formula One as head chef for one of the Formula One teams. So his experience of being an event caterer, an outside caterer, somebody that could work on the hoof, somebody that could work in lots of different environments and around the world, we started thinking, and we were being asked to do lots of different events, and the team wasn't structured to do that. We would do them, and we do really good job of it, and people go, that's amazing food, that's the best event food I've ever had, that's the most amazing. So we thought, okay, well, actually there is a market. And now we're not going to do 1,000 cover banquets, but 150 people at the same time, top end weddings for 50 people, that sort of stuff works very, very well, because we can then transcend the recipes that are standardized throughout the Hand of Flowers all the way up to here in Manchester at the Bull and Bear, and then you can put that and implement that into an event business. All of a sudden you run an event, we're the caterers that come in, your event is still amazing, people are having a fantastic time, the entertainment is brilliant, the drink is stunning, but then if you add on to that then the level of food that people go away going, and fucking hell, the chicken was amazing, it's all those added bonuses. For us, we started going, there is that key point there is a marketplace for top end event organisers to have top end caterers, because quite often caterers they all claim to be top end, and they charge a great deal of money and they use great ingredients, but what happens is that end point, the chef, the end event is never as promised. It's never quite as good as promised. And you always, like you say, a lot of people go, yeah, it was all right. We genuinely want people to go there and go away going, it tasted amazing. And we use our experience as chefs of going, it isn't about making it look the most beautiful, it's about making it taste the most amazing, because you can make anybody can make a plate of food look lovely. But that's a picture. That's one picture. Once does it look lovely, and that's when it goes down in front of you. The moment you take a fork from it, that picture is destroyed. And now, if it tastes rubbish, you've got a destroyed picture that tastes rubbish. For us, it's always about, okay, what can taste fantastic? Beautiful pies, amazing parfaits or pâtés like you talk about. And if you get all of that right, and then you stick that into that event side, all of a sudden it adds to that event, it adds to that occasion. So for us, it was a really important thing to start driving forward. And was doing very well up until right now, whereas, like yourself, as a business, the event business has just been, decimated like everybody else. So, it's kind of sat, mothballed, doing a few bits and bobs, waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, but I think next year's going to be a really big year for the event business. I mean, I know we've got loads of it. It keeps getting shunted from June to July to August, September, October, November. But I think that it's the high end and the private corporates that will come back fighting. But, but it'll be interesting to see. I just know from my own experience that a lot of people, I don't include, but a lot of people that have restaurants that are, middle of the road restaurants, think that outside catering is so easy. But, to get 150 hot meals out, and then, they say, oh, don't worry, we can do big, chunky fried chips, and we can do that, and it all just, you can see before it happens. It's chaos. It is chaos.
It's very, very difficult chaos to deal with. Yeah, you have to have an understanding of it.
And it's, it's another business. So, God, now listen. You're half the man that you were.
Yeah.
And all us women want the secret, because I'm on that lifetime diet, so that when they lift the box, they say, my God, she was thin. And I'm not giving up alcohol. So go on, tell us what.
I drink was a huge part of my life, and that was something that had become I mean, it was most definitely is an issue. It's something I haven't drunk for over 7 years.
Do you miss it?
I used to miss it, and every now and then I miss the chaos that it caused. I miss that guy. Because when you drink and you have an issue with drink or any form of addiction, it's all about self-indulgence.
Was it an addiction, or was it a weight thing, or was it a bit of both?
Oh, it's a bit of both, but the alcohol thing is most definitely an addiction issue, that where it becomes where you have. You're driven to being self-indulged, and that's what happens. It becomes all about you. You know what you're drinking. It does, whether it's alcohol, whether it's gambling, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex, whatever it is, whatever anyone can be addicted to. It's all about you gratifying yourself. And at that point, for me, it was all self-indulged, volume, excess, and sometimes the consequence of that. I missed the guy. I missed the events that happened when I was that guy, like the things that, you know, are really cringy and funny that would just make front pages of newspapers that you just can't do anymore. Like, I miss that guy hugely every now and then, but I don't miss the daily grind of it, the unhealthy aspect of it. I don't miss the after effects. I don't miss the apologies. I don't miss the nightmares. I don't miss I don't miss any of that at all.
And was the weight loss due to the drink, or did you do that deliberately?
I did, like anything.
How can a chef who has the most fabulous menu of high calories and carbs, of which I've tasted a lot of the dishes, go on a diet?
I stopped the carbs, so it was all about flavour. So you can eat the parfait, you can eat the steaks.
Shut up.
You
Can I?
Yeah, but you don't eat the brioche. So
Well,
you can't have the carbs. That's the thing. Yeah, like anything, if you're going to commit to anything, you have to forego something. There is some form of sacrifice. You know, if you think you want to lose weight, you've got to sacrifice something. If you've got overweight because of everything that you eat or drink, you can't just eat or drink. There's no magic pill. There just isn't. There just is.
do you work out? Do you do the gym and stuff?
I do go to the gym. Yeah, I go to the gym 6 days a week.
Do you think that you are, it's like, you know, all these 20 questions. Do you think that you are a nicer person now than you were? And I'm not saying you weren't a nice person, but I'm asking you the question because of the lifestyle that you had.
No, I think I'm the same person. Like, I very much think I am. I'm not doing as many stupid, daft things. But no, I wasn't a horrible person at all. It was always very inclusive. It was always very, you know, it was always very much we get the whole team involved in the pub. It was very. So from a personality point of view, it hasn't changed me. What I do recognise, though, is that there is an issue with excess in my life. Everything has to be done more. Like, I have to do it. I just have to do it more. I have to do, like.
Do you think that's because you're so passionate? I actually think that's with a lot of people that have a talent. I think you become so passionate about it and so anal about it that the excess probably goes hand in hand.
Quite probably. I think there's always a challenge. There's something that's in front of you that you have to just have to do. I just have to tackle things, and you know, I just have to do. Like, I did something on an exercise bike this morning. I did it faster than I'd ever done. I got further than I'd ever been, and the first thing I did at 6:30 this morning when I'd done it is take a picture of the screenshot and send it to the personal trainer that I hope sends it. There's a woman that goes to the same gym who cycles and pushes really hard, and I beat her time. So I was like, send it, make sure Bryony sees it, because I get like, make sure you show her. Like, it's just like I have to. There always has to be something that I've got to be. You've got to be better. Yeah, I like that chat. I like it, but I also go, I wish I wasn't like that, and I wish I wasn't so.
I think you're wrong, because I think the day that you lose that is the day that you shut shop.
Yeah, okay, very true.
In fairness. Yeah. Now, I want to ask you, do you think a Michelin star gives you accreditation? Because I sometimes wonder if it sets people up for disappointment because expectations are so high. Would I go to your restaurants if you didn't have a Michelin star? Yes, I probably would, because of the brand, not because of the Michelin star.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I to be honest, I think the Michelin star thing is something that people get hung up on, and it's been massive for Manchester since we've been here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've known Manchester for many years. The in-laws don't live too far away now. They're 25 minutes away, and coming here for years and years and years, watching Gary and Ryan play football. But I think Manchester's always had this kind of weird thing that a Michelin star will give it some form of solidity and be recognised around the world as a place where you have great food. Manchester food scene in the last 5 or 10 years has grown. It's a phenomenal, it's one of the best food scenes in the country. It doesn't need Michelin stars. You don't need Michelin stars to tell you that your food scene is great. One of the best things about the British food scene is the way that it's eclectically grown. It used to be just about fine dining wins Michelin stars. Well, it's not actually. You can get great tapas restaurants with Michelin stars. You can get great Italians, great Chinese, great Indian restaurants. You can get relaxed. You can get pubs with Michelin stars. It doesn't matter. And Manchester's food scene really has that kind of street food scene, the understanding of actually great food at value. Like those are really, really important things. Quite often Michelin stars have been seen as being a place that's expensive. Well, actually the ingredients that go into Michelin star cookery are quite often top-end. They are top-end ingredients, irrespective of whether it's a Chinese restaurant or an Italian that's making wonderful pasta and whatever. There's a skill set that all goes into it, and that costs money. But it doesn't always have to be. It's not always about lobster and foie gras and caviar and fillets of beef and whatever else. It's about the attention to detail and the way that you can cook and utilise ingredients to create wonderful flavours. So I think what a Michelin star does is, from a chef's point of view, if a chef wins one, it makes them feel that they've achieved some form of recognition within the industry that shows consistency. I think up and down the country, more and more people go, great, it's got a Michelin star, brilliant, but I still like going out for a pizza. Where's the best place to have a pizza? Where's the best place to go and whatever else? I think Manor winning a Michelin star in Manchester has been fantastic. I think it was kind of like an amazing sigh of relief for the whole of the city that somebody who's an amazing cook like Simon has created some great food, won a Michelin star, and is cooking at an exceptional level, that you then go, okay, it allows everybody to now just get on with going, yeah, Manchester food scene's great. We've got a restaurant with a Michelin star. We've got a big brasserie here. We've got Hawksmoor around the corner, which is arguably one of the best restaurants in the country. It's fantastic steak, brilliant service, lovely building. And you go, okay, all of these sort of places, El Gato Negro, amazing. Carla is a bistro around the corner. All those sort of places, they're really, really good. They're great food, and it's a great food scene. So I think the Michelin star is quite often over. There's a lot of emphasis that is put on it, and sometimes if you expect something to be magical and over the top, Michelin stars quite often aren't that. They're about consistency. How many times, I'm sure you've eaten in many Michelin star restaurants, and how many of them have you been in and you've come away feeling, well, everything about it was really good, but I can't quite put my finger on what I didn't enjoy. And that because sometimes they can become quite soulless because a chef is trying to cook to a particular level that achieves a star, rather than going, I want to cook for the guest. You know, you should be about cooking for the guests to have a lovely time. We want to create energy, atmosphere, the guests having a lovely time, and the guidebook writes the guide for the guest as well. So the chef cooking for a guidebook is the wrong route. It should be cooking for the guest. You know, it's all about the person coming through the door having a lovely time. So that's where you should most definitely be looking at. You should just always eat where you enjoy eating, irrespective of whether it's got a Michelin star or not.
I mean, services, you know, I'm very into service. I hate bad service. I think a lot of the Michelin stars restaurant they found, and one in particular, which I daren't mention, but was extremely pretentious, and I hated it. And I was really looking forward to going. And it was like many, many, many courses, and I hated every single minute. And but, you know, good service, ambience, great food, Michelin star or not, it doesn't really matter. But I want to know, so we've got the Bull and Bear, you've got your pubs, you've got Hand and Flowers. What's next? Where are we going to be travelling to? Where we're going to get a little bit spoiled?
In terms of what
where
you
mean?
open it?
Where are you?
Oh,
opening
nowhere.
Oh, come on.
No. I'm not interested in. No, I mean, branding something, doing something that rolls out, maybe doing something that happens in I don't know, a train station or an airport or something like that. That might be quite interesting, but that's not about me. I have 4 restaurants. So I have the Hand of Flowers and the Coach in Marlow, where I live. The Hand of Flowers has been there 15 years. It's my go-to. It's my most amazing. I'm in love with every single brick of that building. Without that space, there isn't anything else. The Coach is on the same road, and it's a beautiful building. It's a concept that's rolled from the hand, and I go in, but I'm not there. I'm in there every week, making sure everything's all right, making sure it runs. Tom, who's head chef, gets on with it. Rebecca, who's manager, make sure it all runs really nicely, lovely. And then the other 2, the one in London and the one here, they're very, very personal. Restaurants have to be a reflection of personality. They have to be, the moment that you start spreading yourself so thinly, then it becomes, for me, I've got 4 spaces that I go to, and I try to be in them at least once a week. And you go, so I might not be in London or Manchester for 2 or 3 weeks, but then I'll come up and I'll be here 3 or 4 days. And you try to make sure, and then the people that are running them, Sarah, who's head chef here, has worked with us for nearly 8 years. So they're always people that have been, Nick in London is 10 years, Jamie at the Hand of Flowers is 10 years, Tom, who's head chef at the Coach, is 8 years. So all of these people have been within the business for a long time, so they have that DNA and that understanding. There is no, I don't want to, it's all about organic growth, and they have to be personal. My wife's sculpture's in the room, the in-laws are just around the corner. The reason why we're here is because, Gary made the first phone call, and actually Gary was the first customer to eat in the London restaurant when we opened that, because he stays in the hotel.
In the Corinthia,
exactly.
Yeah.
So he came through the door on the first day of opening for lunch and said, "Any chance of a table?" I was like, "Yes, of course." So that conversation moving forward from there has always been about how we can sit together as a business and how it works. And the Manchester opening has always been about it being close to the in-laws. It gives the opportunity for little man to see the grandparents a lot more. We work with Manchester United as the football club anyway. We run one of the international suite in the Stretford end, and we do some of the directors dine-in, and so we're up here a lot anyway. And it's also one of those points of I say yes to a lot of things, and I didn't want to get... So in 1999, when United won the treble, I was living in London.
Guess who did the party?
You did the party.
Yeah.
Amazing. See, I'm absolutely gutted I didn't get the invite. But I was down in London. We were watching it in a pub in North London that was a Manchester United fan. The pub was owned by a Man United fan. It was an amazing evening. It was absolutely brilliant. We got so drunk that evening. I woke up the next day. I was off work the next day. And myself and Beth got on a train, and we came up to Manchester to see the bus come down Deansgate. And it was amazing. And you see the bus come down, and you remember that in 1999. And you go, and then 20 years later, you're opening a restaurant with Gary Neville and Ryan Giggs, and you go, I didn't want to get to that point with Beth. You go, can you imagine getting to 70 and going, do you remember that time when Gary Neville said, do you want to open a restaurant in my hotel? And we went, no. I mean, how stupid would we be? It's ridiculous. The fact that,
I want to interrupt you, because at the very beginning of this interview, you said about Gary Neville and Ryan Giggs and the A-list celebs, and you said, they're just normal people.
They are.
Right. But that's contradicting what you said, and because what's interesting is that you saw it as a unique opportunity because it was Gary Neville. Was that because it was Gary Neville the businessman, or Gary Neville the footballer?
Both. I have to both. So as a footballer, I have a huge amount of admiration for what they've both achieved in terms of one club, amazing, brilliant, loyalty. But when I met them for the first time, I'm not overawed by them. I think their achievements are amazing. And seeing the bus coming up the road, you go, this is amazing. It's a wonderful celebration. That is a celebration of the football club, and the players. But you support a club, not an individual, don't you?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's not you go. You support the club. So it's the part of that and then when players from that club have said, "Do you fancy?" And it's also because their recipe for opening this hotel and restaurant hasn't been about it being a money-making hotel. This has been a long-term project for them about giving something back to the city of Manchester. If you know Gary very well, and Gary works heart and soul. He's the most committed to making Manchester the most amazing city in Europe. His drive and his enthusiasm and love for this building is something that's incredibly infectious. So when you meet Gary, if you've never met Gary before in your life and you have no idea who he is, he will come across as the CEO of a great company and of a man who is very passionate about buildings and property and a city that he cares for dearly. It doesn't matter irrespective of his previous life, he was a footballer. So you can't help but fall in love with his vision for what he wants to do. So for both reasons, it was really important for us to be able to open in this room.
He is the most loyal person that you will ever meet. And once you're in, you're in. He'd give you his last Rolo. And I've seen that. He's unbelievably loyal. And I knew his father very well, Neville, and they were this really, deep-rooted northern family, and they had vision and they had aspirations. And I love him, and I have the utmost respect for him. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I just think it's exciting times. I'm terrified of Beth. I don't think I'm ever going to ask to interview Beth. But please let's stay in touch. And don't forget, I want some
You must
free
interview, but she would love to be interviewed by you. You
Would
get on
she?
very well, yeah. You're both equally as terrifying.
Oh, well, okay. Right, well, we'll do that. She's the next one. And don't forget to tell that Warren, who's, I don't know what role he is, but he's husband number 4. You know that. He did a tasting for me that was just beyond.
So Warren
beyond.
is executive chef of the whole group. So Warren oversees all the restaurants, all the spaces, the event
Yeah, well,
business.
you see, I like the organ grinders. I don't like the monkeys.
Yeah.
So he's on my Christmas
He likes
card
getting his
list.
hands dirty, this Warren.
Tell Beth I'm calling her.
All right, I will do.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.